Hello, Eastside Youth. Um, Sorry, this week's midweek encouragement is a little bit later. Um, Also, it's sunny out now, as you can see. I've got sun coming in from over here, but it was not sunny out earlier. I got stuck out in some rain on my bike today, so that was fun. But yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I had um, in relation to discernment and also the idea of kind of safety. And safety's kind of been something that has been being talked about a lot recently about people staying safe and doing different things in order to keep themselves and other people safe. And I was listening to a podcast today, Mike Rowe's podcast, and at the end of it, he's talking about this idea that, and if you don't know who Mike Rowe is, he was the host of Dirty Jobs for years. And one of the things that he came up with when he was hosting Dirty Jobs is this idea of safety third. And in our culture, and I know like for most of my jobs, I've had to do some sort of safety training. We got to do them every year usually. And there's always this attitude of safety first. And Mike Rowe's thing, and it's not just him. There's others who have purported this too, but it's this idea of safety third. And what that is it's this idea that if you are relying on an agency, whether that's OSHA or your employer or maybe someone else in your life to make sure that you stay safe. Um, Part of what happens is in the back of our brains, when that entity is around, or when that person is around, or when we are doing our training and we see the sign that says, oh, OSHA certified, keeping you safe. Part of what we trick ourselves into with safety first is we let down our guard and we go, that thing has our back and we're good right now. I don't need to be as careful because all of the training and all of these people are being more careful for me, and hopefully then I will get less hurt. Um, and one of the things that Mike Rowe shares about, and this is what got me thinking, is um, when he talks about like he used to get hurt a lot on dirty jobs, and a lot of times that would happen in the moment when he would let his guard down, and usually that was because he believed he was safer than he actually was. And so it's this idea that that sign, this safety, we have your safety first in mind. That sign would not exist if it was not like dangerous in some way. um, they put those signs up and they give people training because they know that there are dangers out there. And so the argument is like saying safety first actually gives a false sense of safety, to the point where it could actually make you be less safe in how you conduct yourself. And so the argument is with safety third is that you are responsible for keeping yourself safe. Um, and when you have to take ownership and responsibility of your safety, then you take a little more care and you don't let your guard down as often with those things. And I was thinking about that. And those of you who spent a little time talking to me, I also keep up with some of the preachers and sneakers stuff. Um, and if you don't know what preachers and sneakers is a I think it started Instagram, but they've got other stuff now. But they exist to kind of point out some maybe inconsistencies in Christian culture, specifically with Christian leaders and possibly the amount of money and way they spend their time. That's what I'll say about that. But it got me thinking this idea of safety third, and then applying it to our spiritual walk and our spiritual kind of lives. And it comes back to this idea of discernment. So um, I just got a couple, about three verses here to share with you guys as encouragement. The first is First Thessalonians 5:21. It says to test everything and then to hold fast to what is good. And this is written in context of people who maybe are claiming to have different prophecies and know different things. and be claiming to have done stuff from God. We talked both last Sunday morning and Sunday evening a little bit about when people say they're doing something and it is of God, and sometimes they don't go far enough, and sometimes they go too far, and how maybe it's not always from God. Um, so this First Thessalonians is telling believers, test stuff. If you hear or you see something in your spiritual walk, whether it's me saying it or someone else that you hear, and you're like, I don't know if that quite cuts it, get in the Word, get into prayer, and say, hey, God, I'm hearing this. I don't know if it's right. And then seek out folks that you trust in your spiritual walk, who you trust to be honest with you, and say, hey, like, is this legit? Is this real? Is this good? Because then Paul says they're to hold fast to what is good. That means that you can find it, you can know, and when you find it, to hold fast to it. The other is 1 John 4:1. It says, test the spirits to see if they are from God. So that's the same idea, that it's this in this context of spiritual claims. If somebody is making a big spiritual claim, and whenever there is big world events, folks will make claims about what is going on in a spiritual sense, and they will try to equate it to like this is. But when that happens, that's not necessarily wrong. But then we, as believers, have the task to test that, to discern and see, is this accurate? Is this right? Does this agree with what we are reading in the Bible? Does this agree with what the Holy Spirit is communicating with us? Test the spirits. And last is Hebrews 5:14, and it says discernment. And this is talking about how, like, when you grow up, you'll be more ready for more mature things. And when it's talking about that discernment, sorry, I've been outside, face feels itchy with allergies. Here we are. But that discernment is one of the results from a maturing faith and an active faith. Um, and so, and this is actually in the context of discerning between what is good and what is bad, like what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. And so, in all three of these cases, and in all the other places in the Bible where it talks about discernment and having discernment, it's always when someone is taking an active role. It's never saying, sit back, relax, and let people around you tell you how it should be. It's always saying you should discern, test the spirits, test everything. So, in other words, we as believers at any age, whether you are, been a believer for your whole life, or whether you've been a believer for all of this week, um, you have a task to varying degrees. Again, with maturity comes a better ability to discern, because you have spent more time with your God. And so then you should better be able to say, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that, and I have a feeling that that is in agreement with what my God would want here. But again, the goal is not it's a safety third mindset in relationship to our spiritual stuff. It's not saying, well, man, they've got the Christian banner and the Christian radio, and they've got the relevant Bible verses over here, and they went to this school for this many years, and they have this credential. So spiritual first, I can believe. No, when we begin to let our guard, and I'm not saying that there's not anyone that you can trust, because there's good people that you can trust, and that there's trusted people that you can go to, and everybody should have that, no matter what stage you're at in your spiritual walk. However, if at any point we say, man, I'm just going to believe that because I'm just going to, because it no. We should constantly be testing the things that we hear and seeing, does this correct? Is this agree with what the Bible and what the Holy Spirit is communicating in our lives? And so, I don't know, this idea of safety third, it stuck out to me. And then in relationship with, sometimes there is kind of like a blind mentality of moving into things, especially within Christianity. And I guess I just challenge you to have a safety third mindset about some of your spiritual stuff that you hear in your lives. And what that means is it means taking an active role in your spiritual walk. It means when you hear something and it doesn't quite jive, don't just go, I mean, they think, I mean, they know what they're talking about. No, seek it out. Get in the word. Get into prayer. Talk to someone that you trust with spiritual things and say, hey, I heard this. Is this legit? um, and then be in tune with what the Spirit is telling you and is communicating with you, and how you feel guided in that. um, because our intuition, it can be flawed. However, oftentimes when the Spirit is working within us, we don't get those weird feelings for no reason, is what I would say. And so, safety third, I think it's a good idea, and I think it can apply to a lot more than just workplace safety. I think that this idea could be relevant to like health, here pretty soon, health safety here pretty soon, where we quit relying on whoever to tell us how to be safe and healthy, and we start taking those things into our own hands. However, I hope you guys are encouraged to just continue to own your personal walk with Christ this week. Love you guys. I miss you. I'm back in my game room, as you can see. But yeah, we will have more for you this week. Stay healthy, stay hopeful. We'll see you soon. Love you guys.